Let's get underway. Just so you know, you're in the right place. Today's session is called Supporting Innovation Through Service Design. I'm Nicola McNeely from Harrison Clark Rickabees. I'm a commercial partner and I'm head of our technology team across our 9 offices in the UK, including Birmingham. So my colleague and partner, Ines Brown, is the president of the Birmingham Law Society. So she asked me to get involved in Legal Tech Virtual Forum, and some of my team have participated already this week. And I'm delighted to host this morning's session. This morning's session is with Sarah, Blair and Katie Mooney. We also have Liam in the background who'll be pulling the strings and hosting the Q&A if we get time at the end. So let's introduce you to our speakers. Sarah is the IT director at Thorntons Law. Sarah has over 15 years experience in IT and has spent much of her time leading and transforming the firm's IT capabilities. She specializes in developing and implementing IT strategies while delivering value to the firm through its investment in the latest legal technologies. She has a passion for business-led innovation, encouraging understanding, adoption, and exploration of new technologies, but always with a focus on the problem that needs to be solved. Music to my ears. She's passionate in a service design approach and has been awarded the Progressional Development Award in Service Design by the Pioneering Service Design Academy, something she'll be focusing on in today's session. Sarah is a member of the firm's operational board, information steering committee and R&D group, as well as being the firm's innovation security manager. Sarah is also a member of the LITIG group, the Law Scott Tech Advisory Board and the UK LTA Members Board. Her co-host this morning is Katie, who is a lead consultant at Service Design Academy. Originally graduating in law from the University of Dundee, then completing a Master's in Leadership and Innovation, where she discovered her love for service design. As a Service Design Network accredited master trainer, Katie has extensive experience of facilitating major service design programs with clients, including Glasgow City Council, Dundee and Angus College, and UNESCO. Katie is a tireless volunteer for service design professional groups and a co-founder of the Service Design in Education and EduJam. Without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Sarah to begin today's proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And actually, it's going to be Katie who's up first to talk a little bit about service design, as she's the real expert in the room here.
Thank you very much for a lovely introduction there, Nicola. So I will share my screen and we'll start today's session. So thank you very much for joining us. Like Nicola says, this is Supporting Innovation Through Service Design. Basically, the aim of today, what I want you to leave with today is an understanding of what service design is, the business value that can bring to your firm, and then I'm going to pass over to Sarah to give you some live case studies that she's been working on applying service design to Thorntons. My name is Katie Mooney, and as it was alluded to there, I do have a legal background. I originally studied Scots law and graduated with a long time ago before I moved on to the world of service design. I've done a lot around education recently, but I'm also a member of the Service Design UK chapter as a member and a volunteer and accredited master trainer. So the Service Design Academy was established in 2017 off of a global GovJam, and that was the catalyst for change within Dundee and Angus College to look at providing people with an introductory learning experience to service design where there was a gap in the market to do so. So there's sort of 3 strands to what the Service Design Academy do. We provide the accredited programme in which Sarah took part in. We also help within Dundee and Angus College, where we're based, getting the opportunity to apply our learning in there in a big organisation to play about with what we've learned. And we also look after external projects as well. So although my title is lead consultant, our focus is mainly education and actually building capacity when we go into external organisations. So it all started with Dundee and Angus College's Designing Good to Great programme. And that basically allowed us to put together a training program that allowed champions go through back in the department of Dundee and Angus College to start playing with service design to see how we could go from a good college to a great college. Now, this was a 2-year project. And at the end of that, we were successful in winning the Campbell Christie Public Service Reform Award. After those 2 years, we'd been involved in around about 20 service design projects that really helped to enhance the learner retention and attainment, and also the learner satisfaction. But not only focusing on our learners, so our users and our customers, but thinking about our staff in the back office and our front-facing staff as well. Staff satisfaction started to go up, and that also fell in line with cost reductions and efficiencies of improvements of 10%. Which is a massive thing within the college industry, within the educational sector, going up against really big public services to make this, to get this award. Since we started, we've hosted over 70 workshops, and we've interacted with over 175 organisations. Now, recently we have been focusing on the public sector because there's been a lot of need coming from the government and from local authorities for service design to be embedded into their practices, and we're working with quite a few over the last few months. But that doesn't mean that we don't have wide experience across all of the sectors. And this is just a handful of the companies that we've been working with over the last 3 years to really introduce and embed design into the way that they're working. Now, the Service Design Academy is officially recognised by the Service Design Network as an accredited organisation, and we're the first organisation worldwide to receive this accreditation. So that basically means that all of our trainers are either accredited masters or accredited trainers. Our academy satellite location is up to a world-class standard, and also our course content has been accredited as a quality of a world-class standard. So what does design mean to you in the world? What does design mean to you? Because to me, even being a service designer or a lead consultant in service design, when somebody says design to me, the first thing that pops into my head is Kevin. I absolutely love grand designs. And I love the process that people go through to create something that's so aesthetically beautiful, but sometimes they don't think about the function of how that house is going to work. And normally within that program, there's a big upset within the process that needs to be revamped, and they need to go back to the start and think about this. So it's not just about the aesthetics that I love design, it's actually about the thinking and the processes that go behind that. So Nicola Sturgeon referred to design when the pandemic first kicked off, and she said that we can work together to design the Scotland that we want to emerge from this crisis. So this is not just about making pretty things, this is about making things functional as well as user-friendly. So what is service design? In its simplest form, service design is the design of services, and services are things that help people to do something. Now, Lou Down, the director of the design and UK standards for the UK government, gave us that definition about 2 years ago. But you can ask several different designers what design means to them, and you'll get several different definitions. The Design Council released their strategy, using design as a force for change, this year, and they helped to define design as a mindset and a skill set. And I really like this three-pronged approach, 3 H's of problem solving at the heart with the head and the hand. It's critical thinking and creativity combined. It's much more than aesthetics. It's about a mindset, and that really requires you to step into this place where you're allowed to get it with your users. You're in a place where you embrace ambiguity and you continue to learn from failure. It's such a holistic and iterative process that builds creative confidence as you begin to make things and trusting yourself just to go with the process. The really important part of service design is talking to people, and it's a major part of the design process. So to find ideas, you need to find problems. There needs to be a starting point. To find problems, we need to talk to people, and user research is a massive part of what we do. So as we move forward in this new normal, as people are calling it, there's a massive opportunity for people to change here. Over 90% of people believe that businesses are going to fundamentally change over the next 5 years. So how can we respond to that? And what does design bring value to that? So workers with design skills can contribute nearly 210 billion to our economy. But not just that, nearly 50% of people with design skills in their job are more productive than the UK average worker. This isn't something that's new. You know, design is pulling on lots of different elements of across the business sector. And in 2018, the Design Council highlighted that using design and valuing design brings bottom line benefits to those who understand it and act on it. It improves and directly impacts sales, profits, turnover and growth. And even within this pandemic, the UK government are concentrating on how we can bring innovation into businesses. So Innovate UK launches its 4-year design strategy that's highlighting how we can really start to reap the benefits of design and what that could mean for potential benefits going forward. Now, this strategy highlights 4 ways that good design boosts businesses and the economy by delivering more valuable outcomes, reducing innovation risk, and accelerating scale up by improving business performance. So at the moment, we are currently designing for 1.8% of the Scottish population. So that's roughly 1 in 55 people getting to make a choice about their public services. So can you imagine standing in a queue for a cup of coffee and getting there and they're saying, actually, you don't get to choose. It's the next person. You're 54, it's 55 that gets to choose. This is the world that we are living in when it comes to public services and private services. Yes, Scotland is quite unique in the fact that Kat Macaulay is the first Chief Design Officer. And she said at the start of the year that she wants Scotland to become the biggest service design school in the world. And we wanted to react to that. At the Service Design Academy, we are the UK's first comprehensive accredited training programme provider for service design. And that means that we're looking to provide our delegates with skills to feel equipped to apply service design tools and methods to their own professional domain and to increase their creative confidence. And doing that, it improves career prospects as more employers are increasing their service design capacity. And it also gives people the opportunity to share their experiences with others in the field as you network in the world of service design. And this is really, really important as we start to make this really key perspective shift in business. So you don't have to be a service provider to design for service. So here we are talking about there's no one person exempt from service design or from understanding what they're trying to do. If you do business with a person, you're trying to serve their need, and you therefore are acting in service. It means that service design is relevant across all sectors, and that doesn't exclude the US Army. Okay, so don't quote me on this because it's an unknown, but an advisor for the US Army said you don't need high quality ideas, you need low quality experiments. And we see this all the time when we think about the Army, when they're playing with their sandbox. Okay, this is what we do as designers, thinking about every eventuality and doing it in a low cost experimental way to provide that risk reduction before you go into delivery. Okay, so we also see it with these new companies, the ones that are really leading as we go forward into this new world. So Uber, where the lines between hardware, software and services are blurring and disappearing. And by this in Uber, I mean that it's not just about the processes in the app and the technology that makes this happen. It's the full experience that supports an organisation to deliver a promised experience. And you can read about this when we send it out, all the links that are in there, I will be able to share. You've also seen this with Monzo, the people who created the bank for people who hate banks, the bank of the future, and being able to monitor, freeze, and completely control your finances. The thing that I really like about Monzo and the way that they are developing is how open and transparent that they're doing it in a design fashion. They have a community of people who provide them with features that they should put in as they use and test their app. And then they put it out onto Twitter. Here's what we tried to do, here's what we achieved, and here's what we didn't achieve, here's what we failed on, and here's why, which is a really nice way to start doing business when you're competing with people. So how is it that we do service design? There's the process behind it, just like everything else. So we're looking at this double diamond process that has 4 phases: the discover, define, develop and deliver phase. And most importantly, at the start, you're starting looking at the context, thinking really broadly, observing people, before you then narrow down as the diamond comes down to critically and analytically think about all of the data that you've collected, before you then open back up to generate solutions in that really wide divergent thinking phase, before focusing back down to prototype and evaluate, the whole time with your users involved if possible. Okay, so that's right from the start through problem definition into the development of solutions. And I really like to think about the first diamond as designing the right thing, ensuring that you're not wasting your time and building something that's not needed or not. Then go into that prototype and that ideation phase where you're designing that thing right, where you're practicing lots of different ways of going about creating that idea so that it then moves into an innovation. And as the process has started to build, you know, that was 15 years old, the double diamond from the Design Council. We've started to iterate on even that and acknowledge that there's an engagement process and leadership that needs to play into that, and that there's design principles that can help you to achieve this. So this is very much a framework to help you go through the design process, but ultimately it doesn't always look like that. We ask you to get out from behind the desk. Particularly with the work that we've done within Dundee and Angus College, actually just stepping out from behind the desk into the corridors to speak to our staff, to speak to our students has been so super powerful. A dangerous place to work from is your office or your desk. We ask you to step outside and explore the world and just talk to people. And the process within design, although that is a beautiful double diamond to be able to explain the process, life's not like that. Okay, and the design process is messy because you will unearth lots of hidden gems, opportunities, as well as problems. So it takes that time to figure things out. So hopefully I've given you a whistle-stop tour of what service design is, the business value and what it can mean to a firm. So what I want to do now is stop sharing and pass over to Sarah to give you the case study insight into service design at Thorntons.
Thank you, Katie. I will just share my screen as well. And I will start presenting. Okay, so if you can't see that, please let me know. Otherwise, I'll just be cracking on regardless. So I wanted to start a little bit before we talk about what we do and how we use service design at Thorntons with the why. One of the techniques that I've seen used in service design is the 5 whys, and it's where you ask why a number of times to get to the root of the problem. And I happen to have come up with 5 whys. So it's not quite the technique in action, but I have come up with 5 reasons that I think, especially in our industry, that service design is really important and that human-centered approach. And the first of these is around good old innovation. Everybody agrees innovation is important. It's a term that's overused, and actually nobody really ever agrees exactly what it means. And if you Google the term innovation, you get over 300 million results apparently. So I had started thinking about what innovation meant at Thorntons some time ago, and I came across this definition, which is by a man called Nick Skillicorn, who is an author for Idea to Value. And he spoke to 15 industry experts and asked them what they thought innovation was. And he tried to pull together a universal, what he calls the ultimate definition of innovation. And, you know, it's often conflated with technology. Often we'll lead with, we have to be innovative by buying an AI solution or lots of shiny technology tools. And clients are increasingly asking us about it in tenders. But if we don't know what it is to us, then actually, how do we know what they are looking for? And you can see here with the definition that Nick has come up with how service design ties into that with what Katie has talked about to us. So we're really focusing on challenges, and we're spending a lot of time in that problem space approach initially, and making sure we're focusing on the right problems before we even start. And then the ideas part, the execution of an idea, we're going to focus on divergent thinking. We're going to come up with lots of different ideas. But actually the bit I like best about this definition is the word value. And value is an interesting thing. It's often in the eye of the beholder. And what do our clients value? If we start in my firm and other firms with technology, we really are on a hiding to nothing, because actually technology, as we know, is a solution looking for a problem at the end of the day. And what problem are we trying to solve if we haven't started any type of process? Legal technology especially is often focused on making our lives easier in the firm, making the lawyers' lives easier, making the back office easier. But so what? What does that mean to our clients, and how are they going to value that? And we might often lead from what we sell and talk about the services that we sell, rather than thinking about how our clients experience them and what they actually want to buy. And I do think that we're very good at solutionizing often on our clients' behalf, quite often finding solutions to completely the wrong problems. And if we do say, look, we'll take a client first approach, we'll ask our clients what they want, and we'll not go into the Ford quote, which is often misquoted about faster horses here. But even if we do ask clients what they want and they tell us, that makes us responsive, not necessarily innovative. So I believe that a way to deliver value is to really understand the unmet needs, the unsaid needs of our clients. And to do that, taking a really deep human-centered approach is a really effective way to do that. And putting ourselves in the shoes of not only our colleagues, but our clients as well. And there's a quote I often see, and I think Alex Smith uses this from I Manage Raven. He said, "Your opinion, though interesting, is irrelevant." And I think that is really the case in terms of what is value. We need to make sure that that's what our clients value at the end of the day. This is about client experience. Why number 2? We've heard, if you saw Derek Southall's excellent session this week, he talked about the absolute need now for the legal industry to digitise due to competition, due to consumers and their rising expectations. And Katie's talked about how the lines are being blurred now between a true traditional service and software, and we might augment that with a technology or a digital product. And everybody talks about the consumerization of legal services, but in this consumer world, in this digital world, we know that customer experience is king. It's one of the top influencers now, often above price, and why people will choose a service provider or a product. And this is from my favourite session at Legal Geek last year, where Susan Hackett basically told off the room of legal people for being lawyer focused and not client focused, and saying that how do the experiences of our clients consuming our services compare to often effortless consumer services like Monzo, like even ordering a pizza now, where for 15, 16, 20 pounds, you can see everything from a massive amount of choice, complete transparency on price, and the stages that service is going through. We give great legal advice and we might judge our service on that, but now we need to make our clients feel amazing about that process too. And to do that, I believe we need to deliberately design those services and experiences around our clients. Another why I really like this quote, service design encourages true collaboration. And perhaps when clients ask us about innovation, what they're actually looking for is the mindset and the behaviours and the skills of innovators. And one of these would be around collaboration. And I think, again, you might feel that in my firm, we are collaborative, that we'll share things, but quite often that might be, you do your bit, I'll do my bit, we'll stick them together at the end, and I might just edit it out anyway and decide what the final product looks like after polishing it and polishing it and polishing it. And actually, service design encourages a really different way of collaboration. It's really effective of capturing the views of a really wide and diverse group of people and the insights of all the stakeholders involved, but also make sure that's feasible and through a really collaborative and creative process kind of establishes the context in the business. And I believe service design is something really key to underpin a digital transformation through two aspects, through engagement and through that human-centered approach. And it wouldn't be an Oosha session without what Matt Newton at Oosha calls my pyramid of transformational power. But it's a diagram I really like to use to talk about digital transformation and how technology itself can only be an enabler of a new business model. It doesn't ever create that model in itself. And this pyramid really reflects the fact that you need the foundations. You need to have the right technologies to have a digital process in the first place. You need to then move up and actually start doing some clever stuff like automation. But actually what sits at the top is that new business model and a real cultural shift and a shift in mindset. And a professional services firm, engagement is needed in increasing amounts as you rise up the pyramid. You need to really understand the services that we are delivering. They're complex, you know, the law is complex, but actually you need to engage deeply through that. A methodological approach, and service design gives you that. But also from that human-centered perspective, really understanding our clients and their needs. And often that outside-in perspective is what most successful digital transformation projects really hinge on. And lastly, another pyramid, I really believe that service design helps with what we expect of our future lawyers and the skills that they need to be successful and that firms need to be successful going forward. This is talked about a lot. We hear about the T-shaped model, the O-shaped lawyer, the T-shaped lawyer. But I actually like this one, and not just because it's another pyramid. This comes from Michelle DiStefano, her book Legal Upheaval, and she talks about the lawyer skills delta. And she argues that we all know that clients want cheaper, better and faster, but what they're really looking for is this added value, back to value again. And you see here that the legal skills that come are just a necessity. They're not even part of the main pyramid. And actually, they're just form a foundation for that. The skills that are built on top of that are around other necessary skills in this day and age, around project management, communications and technology. But actually, as professionals, lawyers are taught to minimize risk and often will seek perfection before releasing a project into the wild. But this breeds a strong bias against the skills at the top of that pyramid. These creative skills, collaborative thinking, failing fast. And actually service design encourages these really strongly. Michelle DiStefano wrote this based on interviews with a load of general counsel. And recently I attended an event of COOs. And there was a general counsel from a global corporation talking about her firm, how they were responding to COVID, and actually the expectations of their panel firms going forward. A true partnership and a true collaboration with the firms that they wanted to work with. And that collaboration, they expected to be brought to them by the firms, not just by lawyers, but other business people within the firm to bring other skills and expertise by true collaboration from within the firm and with the global company themselves. And she talked about that added value and these skills that they expected their firms to have. So now moving on to a little bit of background about Thorntons. We are an independent Scottish firm, and in my opinion, we're a pretty forward-thinking firm. And actually, Katie did some time with us a few years ago before she went to do her service design. We recognised quite some time ago that actually in the future legal services are going to look very different, and we have for some time incorporated aspects of digital transformation and innovation into our strategy. But to underpin that, we recognised a while back that it's this cultural shift that's really, really important. So to try and help that change, we created a brand, and we called that brand Tech Hub, but it's an internal brand. And it's the first rule of Tech Hub. It's a bit like Fight Club. It's not just about technology, but we do recognise that technology is going to play a really integral role in digital transformation. And part of my role is making sure that the firm has a flexible and sustainable toolkit of technology we can respond quickly to build solutions. But the three core parts of Tech Hub are around education, collaboration, and problem solving. And you'll see here that it starts to reflect some of the things that we've talked about. Education for us means about understanding the landscape out there and making sure that everybody in the firm is confident and equipped with that understanding, not only of capabilities of new technologies, but also the technologies that we have within the firm and that we can build solutions with. So we showcase them and make sure that people are confident talking to our clients about them. Collaboration, we've talked about that effective engagement internally and outside the firm. And some of the collaborations we've done are with a growing group of legal tech providers, both in Scotland and in the UK, who not only have products that we might use, but helping them develop that product further, which is beneficial because not only does it give us experience of that product and hopefully insight to that product, but also we learn a lot from working with these companies and working closely with them. Another collaboration we've done is with Data Lab in Scotland, where we got the opportunity to take on a data science student and start to explore what data science might do for us. And again, collaborating really closely with them. But the most important part is obviously around problem solving. We've talked a lot about focusing on the problem, but we do really focus on opportunities to deliver value to us as a firm and to our clients. And as part of that, we launched an ideas campaign. We asked the firm to start with the problem, hashtag start with the problem. And that was really successful, and we've developed a lot of things on the back of that. Lots and lots of things that help us move cheaper, better and faster, absolutely. And lots of little, small, incremental changes, which have all been great because they help us kind of open people's minds to what's possible and not accepting that things need to be the way that they are. But as we got into the more complex questions, it became obvious to me that we couldn't just do that by creating a button here and a little process there and a workflow there, that actually we needed a method to uncover some of these more complex how might we questions. And for me, it was key to find a systematic approach to do that. And you've probably heard about design thinking, service design. This is Margaret Hagan's legal design, and this is her book, Law by Design, which is an excellent resource. You can get it online, it's all completely free. And it combines that, it's that intersection of design, law and technology that Margaret talks about, but they all have something in common around collaboration, focusing on the problem, teaching and learning new skills of creativity, empathy and a growth mindset, and a human-centered approach is at the heart of every single one of them. But I really liked service design because for me, it takes all parts of the business to kind of come up with these solutions. And it's not just a product. I wanted to go beyond a product and a digital experience for the firm. So for me, I thought that service design was going to be a great approach, and we were really lucky to then find the Service Design Academy right on our doorstep. And I and a couple of my colleagues enrolled in to do the PDA, where we very much were learning by doing. We did boot camps, we did several boot camps in the college, going out, doing the user research, actually learning by doing with the tools. And we blended that into projects back in the business to deliver the learning in the PDA itself. So I'm just going to talk about a couple of examples of how we've used their service design in the firm. I'm not going to go into a massive amount of detail. We don't have a huge amount of time, but first a disclaimer, I'm not an expert by any means. I've done this PDA and it has equipped me with lots and lots of tools and methods that we've started to use. We're starting to learn more, working with other external partners and working further with Katie and her team. So I'm really lucky to have experts there to dip into, but I'm still constantly learning through that process. And this first example, and you'll excuse me from blurring out some of the faces, but I'm sure you'll understand why, is part of the PDA itself. We were asked to take a real business challenge that we had within our own companies and to develop that using the tools and methods as part of our project submission. And so what we did was we said, well, do you know what, how might we improve what we do with innovation at the firm and develop the Tech Hub brand further? And we asked a group of volunteers to help us with this. We ran a series of workshops on how we might do that. And we put all of our new tools to the test and learned a lot while we were doing that. We did knowledge gathering with the group. We sent them off to do research interviews, to gather user research in different ways. And they came back and they helped build personas to understand the different personalities and approaches to technology and to innovation in the firm. And the insights were massively powerful. Some of the stuff that we learned through that were really powerful in terms of helping embed that cultural shift and to help it to be more effective. And we spent an awful long time in the problem space before we even started to think about solutions. But we did take a couple of the themes through, we prototyped them, and we actually took one of them, which was running a cafe style kind of come in and dip into some dishes that you like the sound of kind of drop-in session. And we did that at our ATM with 57 of the partners along, and we ran the Tech Hub Cafe, and it was really well received. We took feedback from them at the end, and we've iterated that process, and now we're doing that to run that in a digital method. The second example is really focusing on a pain point. And like many other firms, one of the pain points that we had and have had for a while is the whole onboarding process for our clients. How do we make sure we fulfill all of our regulatory obligations, we get effective information from our client? And actually this project predates any of our service design background in Tech Hub itself, but we recognised some time ago that this process needed to be looked at. And we ran a lean workshop and a rapid improvement event to look at the whole process from start to finish. And as part of that, we came up with a number of improvements and objectives of what we wanted to do with that. But as we started to work through that, we actually added service design to the mix, and the blend is fantastic. You don't have to do one or the other. They actually work really well. Lean gives you a really systematic and process-driven way to look at efficiencies and to look at improvements. But service design brings that true human element to the experience. And as part of the project, we started to work with a tech startup based in Edinburgh about their digital onboarding tool and integrating that into the project. And service design is at the heart of what they do. That's where their value proposition came from. And so they helped us to put together a set of service design tools to help with that project. So we created personas, we did a whole host of client research, and one of the most effective things that we did was we built this journey map, and we said, well, what was our client's experience before, and what will it be like when we put this new process in place? And that was really, really valuable and very powerful in terms of understanding that improvement. We refined the process, we helped them develop the digital onboarding tool, and the whole thing is really holistic. It's not just about the tool, it's about the team, it's about the process. And again, service design really helps you with that blueprint for all of the things you need to consider. And actually, this is a slightly older journey map now because it's pre-COVID, because we met the client in those days. And as you can imagine, having this process and this technology was an absolute godsend over the last 8 months when we weren't meeting our clients and still haven't been meeting our clients in person if we can help it. But one of the unpredicted benefits of the journey map and some of the tools we used was that there's often a real apprehension from fee earners, from partners, and from staff and colleagues where the client's process, the client-facing process is changing. How does that feel to the client? And actually, will it go wrong? Will they hate it? And actually, the journey map gave us a really powerful method of demonstrating how that will be improved. So for me, that was an unpredicted benefit, but it really helped with adoption and getting that project to run. And we're doing a lot of other workshops around pain points. And a quote I like from Bill Gates is that an unhappy client is your greatest source of learning. And it doesn't need to be an unhappy client bringing you a grumble, but actually you can open up a dialogue with your clients and ask them about specific pain points and opportunities. So we've run a number of these with a variety of clients using some of the tools just to actually look at the process. And quite often it won't even have a digital or technology aspect to it. We just think about people and process, and those improvements have been really well received by our clients. And the last example is about how we are now embedding service design into our planning for the future. We had a strategy set out early this year, and in April we had an opportunity to work with Barclays Ventures, who are also, massively expert in service design. And they came in and helped our leadership boards reimagine the future using a couple of tools and methods that I'd used before and a couple that I hadn't. But what we did was we took our strategy and we reimagined it through a COVID lens. And now we're taking that even further internally, actually engaging both our colleagues and our clients in developing that further, developing all aspects of it and putting together a full blueprint of what that will look like. And that includes colleague listening, one-to-one interviews and surveys, and now workshops. And this is a knowledge gathering exercise that we did with one of the groups that are involved. We've got nearly 50 people involved. We've done it on Miro now because in Scotland we haven't even been back to work, never mind going home again. So we've done it all digitally, and that's been a massive learning experience as well. But we're asking our colleagues, what does the next normal look like? And we're going to use service design to build on that. We are using service design to build what we're going to call the client experience framework. We're going to really understand our clients and their experiences before we decide what services we will deliver in the future and how we will deliver them. So that's the whys. There was 5 whys there, if you caught them, and that's some of the ways, just a few examples of how we've used the tools and methods at Thorntons. And we thought before we kind of move on, we would do something called a fireside reflection. So just a little bit of a Q&A between ourselves on some of the things that we've learnt. And Katie, I just wanted to ask you to start with, what challenges do you think, you've worked in a law firm, you know the industry, what challenges do you think law firms will face when considering this service design approach?
I think you actually highlighted on it a little bit, Sarah, is that thinking that this might be something new, that this is going to go on top of the day job. And you rightly said that a service design actually is a nice umbrella. You can use lean, you can use agile, and it complements all of these different processes. So I think that's one thing that we need to get over, is that buy-in process, is actually getting people to understand the value of design. The second thing that I often meet within my career is the implementation of ideas, of innovations. How do we turn prototypes into reality? And really using that delivery phase and identifying people that you need in the room to be able to do that. Collaboration doesn't happen on its own. And the third thing is measuring success. How do we measure success in a new industry that's, you know, starting to embed across our sectors? So using the different approaches that we've got here, the Scottish approach to service design from the Scottish Government, to be able to measure our organisation maturity in design. So there's different ways that we can look at it, but that's the 3 main challenges. For you, Sarah, I just wanted to quickly ask, what were the main challenges that you faced within implementing and going through these case study learnings?
So I think for me, it's a constantly, I'm constantly learning. You know, it's, you go in, you get the fear, you think this is not going to work, I don't know the tools well enough. And actually every time you use them, everybody comes out having learnt something new, enjoyed the experience, and you realise that actually the process just takes you through it. You don't need to go in with the solutions, you don't even need to go in with the problems, and you must not, you must lose your assumptions and go into it. So for me, it's continuing that learning and having confidence in the process is one of the lessons that I've learned. And taking inspiration from outside the firm has been a massive help with that. You know, working with some of these technology firms who, that's how they come up with their value proposition. They understand it, they have teams of experts. So for me, working with them has been a massive learning, as well as continuing to work with yourself at the team as well. And I think one of the biggest lessons and challenges that we face is that service design needs to be embedded in this wider strategy. It needs to be part of a systematic approach and a way of, or a systemic approach of approaching digital transformation and innovation for the firm. You can't just do it on the side, because you need all of that kind of Kaplan canvas of stuff supporting you to make sure it's embedded deeply in the firm. We all know that mindset change is really hard. And we all know in a law firm that time is never our friend for projects like these. You know, time is money. So actually to embed it in a systemic approach means that you get the time and the space to be able to do that. And you can demonstrate the value that way as well.
Excellent, thank you very much.
I'm just going to quickly share our last slide, which is our takeaways. So Katie, I'll let you talk through the first 2.
Yeah, the first 2, the Bible, the service design doing, this is service design doing. I would recommend, if you have any interest in what I've been saying, to purchase that immediately. You can do that online via Amazon, and there's also a lovely free methods element to that book online at thisisservicedesign.com. And also the Scottish approach to service design, that matrix that I referred to right at the end there. There's a playbook in there, a free playbook you can download, the way to apply design to services and with your users rather than without them.
And I like, if you're thinking about how to not only get an understanding of service design in itself, but also how to explain it within the firm. The Tale of 2 Coffee Shops video, I absolutely adore. It's a short video on Vimeo. It's about 2 coffee shops. They're right next to each other. We're back to coffee again, Katie. They're the same price, but there's a reason that people go back to one and not the other. One of the coffee shops developed an app, but the customers found nothing in the app that they needed. Whereas the second one, they put the customer at the heart of what they were going to develop. They understood the needs deeply, and they thought about the context and the business strategy. And by doing it, they made that the coffee shop that people go back to. So that for me has been a fantastic resource, both for myself, but also in explaining the benefits and what service design is within my own firm.
Thank you very much for that. That was a really, really good session. And from some of the feedback we've already gained, it looks like people have found that really beneficial. What I thought was really good was that you always brought it back to law firms, and both of you got experience in the sector. So that was really useful. We have had a question come in as well. So I'm not too sure who wants to pick it up, but the question is, how do you train people in the 5 whys?
Do you want me to pick that up, Sarah?
Yeah, we've not used it. I'm not sure if you have, but I read a lot about it because I had happened to come up with 5 whys.
The simplest way, 3 steps. First, identify a problem. Don't define a problem that you're going through. Then ask why it's a problem, and then ask why, and ask why, and ask why, and ask 5 times. So basically, before you define that problem, ask people why it's a problem so that you can drill down. Because if you continue to ask people why, they will get annoyed and they will focus on what really is the problem. But always go out and do that user research to define the problem afterwards.
Thank you very much.
And Katie and I, we're both on Twitter, we're both on LinkedIn. We're really happy to take, if you want to contact me afterwards to chat through what we've done and how it's worked and the different methods, then please do that. We'd both be delighted to hear from you.
Yes, Sarah, there's I've got the Twitter link, the Twitter handle, sorry, for yourself and Katie on the screen there.
Perfect.
People can make a note of that. And then just to summarize, then we've got 3 more sessions before the conference finishes later today. We're going to stay up in Scotland for the first session, which is with Sam Moore, is a friend of Sarah's at Burness Pool, who's going to be talking about bridging the gap between lawyers and their new technologies. We've then got some people from the accounting sector who are going to come in and talk about comparing the approaches between the accounting and legal sectors, hopefully some lessons learned there. And then finally, we're finishing the day with Kirsty, my colleague from Oosha, who's going to be talking about teams for law firms. So there's still the opportunity to register for those sessions. Hope you enjoyed today. Thank you very much, Katie and Sarah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks very much. Thanks, Liam, for all your help.
No problem. Thank you.
And Nicola, bye.